Welcome back to another episode of the Field of 68's off-season grades. My name is Rob Dauster. I have Jeff Goodman with me, and we're going to be talking about one of the programs in college basketball that has more NIL money flowing than just about anybody in the sport, and that is the BYU Cougars. I know it makes you kind of scratch your head just a little bit. What's changed this offseason with BYU? A lot. Mark Pope took the job in Kentucky. So BYU went out and hired a guy in Kevin Young, who was at one point the highest paid assistant in the NBA. He is a guy that is known as an elite X's and O's coach and a guy that had opportunities to get NBA head coaching jobs in recent seasons. They lost Noah Waterman, Jackson Robinson, Spencer Johnson, and Ali Khalifa. They brought back Fousseyni Traore, Trevin Nell, Richie Saunders, Dallin Hall, and Dawson Baker. And they brought in Cannon Catchings, Brody Kozlowski, Elijah Crossford, a couple of transfers in Mawat Mag and Kaba Keita. And the biggest name, Jeff, is Igor Demon. Igor Demon. I'm going to call him Denim so many times this season, and it's going to drive me crazy. Igor Demon, who I think has a chance to maybe end up being the Reed Shepherd of this year's college basketball season. I'll explain what I mean when we get that into that in a little bit. I want to start with Kevin Young, though. You know him. We know his brother very well, Justin Young. What is your take on him coming in? What's your take on his impact as BYU as the head coach?
You know, one thing, I don't know him that well, but obviously I've known Justin for 20 plus years, and he's very different than his brother. He's a little kind of
That's a good thing, by the way. You want to be different than
that is a
Justin
good
Young.
thing. That's a very good thing. It's true, Kevin. That's what you want. You do not want to be like your brother. Maybe one of your other brothers, but not Justin. Listen, the big thing is he comes in with so much credibility. I mean, the fact that, again, he was in line to maybe get a big-time NBA head coaching job and instead goes to BYU says a lot. You know, it worked for his family. It's what he wanted to do. He comes in again as a big-time X's and O's guy. And the recruiting is taking care of itself to some degree here because they've got crazy NIL. There's a lot of money around that BYU program, and they're already using it. And you know, the big one, like you said, is Igor Demine, the kid coming 18 years old.
Is it Demine? Is that how you say
Demine.
it?
Yeah,
Demine.
Demine. He's from Moscow. He's from Russia, but he's played with Real Madrid the last few years. And, you know, again, a 6'8", 6'9" point forward is really what he is. And, you know, probably the best thing he brings to the table right now is his passing ability. He won't be a full-time point guard, but he can play the point. You can run stuff through him. Good shooter, not a great shooter, but versatile. Versatile, high IQ, good size, needs to get stronger. But as you said, like, he's going to make a big impact, and he's kind of the jewel, the prize of not only the recruiting class in year one, but, like, you need to get momentum right away these days. If you don't, especially if you're a guy like Kevin Young at BYU, people start to like wonder, okay, like, is this the guy? And then they start to maybe not give as much money.
Mm-hmm.
So this is important for Kevin Young to get out of the gate strong, and getting a guy like the meme was just huge for him because, again, that he's 18, but he doesn't play like he's 18, kind of like Reed Shepherd. I assume that's what you're talking about.
Well, my point was going to be is that he's going to be the guy that kind of comes in under the radar that people don't really think of. Like last year, everyone was talking, oh, Rob Dillingham, ooh, DJ Wagner, ooh, Justin Edwards, ooh, all these freshmen. And all of a sudden, it's like, holy shit, Reed Shepherd is good.
Yeah.
And I think that we're going to have a point at some point in like late November, early December, where we're all like, oh, man, this kid is good. He's athletic. He is 6'9". He is long. He can kind of run. I don't want to say he's a point guard, but he can do point guard stuff. Like you can put him in ball screens. He can shoot it a little bit. I think he shot 34% last year for Real Madrid. But I think the stroke looks
And
good.
they're
He
going to
can
have
make
enough
threes.
shooters. Like,
Yeah.
that's the beauty is
so
he doesn't need to be a great shooter. They've got enough shooting around him.
and he's going to posterize some people this year. So when you got a guy that can make threes, that can posterize people, and that can operate ball screens, that is 6'9", that is long, and that is 18 years old going on 19, like, one, you got an NBA coach that is going to know how to be able to use that dude's abilities, and two, like, NBA teams are going to be salivating over him. I think there's a real chance that he ends up being like a top 3 pick in the NBA draft this year. I don't think that that's out of the question. And from what I've been told, he's already like looked really, really good in workouts and in practices that they've had. But outside of, so you got Kevin Young, a guy that's going to run NBA stuff, right? You got Demeen, and I still think it's Demon because every broadcast that I watch a bunch of film on him, and every broadcast call him Demon, but I have no idea. I am not the person you want to ask for last name pronunciations. We all know that. Um, Outside of that, like, I think it's really tough to know what this team is going to look like. I think that it's interesting that when you look at who Kevin went out and got in the portal, it's a couple of big athletic dudes. Like Mawot Mag is known as a defender coming in from the Rutgers program. You got Keba Keita coming in from Utah, who's like a big physical 6'8" power forward kind of a guy, right? You're going to put them next to Fusini Traore, who is like an undersized bulldog with a 7'3" wingspan. And you still got the shooters coming back. You got Dallin Hall, you got Trevin Nell, you got Richie Saunders, you got Dawson Baker, and they got Cannon Catchings, the kid coming in from Purdue. Like, there are 11 guys, I think, on this roster that can all play some kind of minutes. And I'm just really, really curious to see what Kevin Young is going to do when he puts it all together. Because outside of Demeen and outside of what I know, like some of these returners are, like, I just don't know how all the pieces are going to fit. I'm betting on them fitting, though. I think that this is a NCAA tournament team. I think that they are in that like top 30 to 35 range nationally. And I think that they are, I've said this a couple of times. I think that you take Kansas State, Texas Tech, BYU, and Cincinnati. And to me, those are the 4 teams outside of the big dogs in the Big 12 that have a real chance to be able to make some noise this season. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM Sportsbook. We're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 throughout the year. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use bonus code FIELD, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. The best part, all you need to do is deposit and bet $10 of your own hard-earned money to be eligible. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using that bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. BetMGM is going to have some fun offers available throughout the NBA playoffs. Bet insurance tokens, odds boost, and what I love, a nice parlay booster too from time to time, as well as a ridiculous array of player prop bets for any sport that you could possibly imagine betting on. BetMGM is and always will be the king of the prop bet. So go download the BetMGM app, use the bonus code FIELD, and sign up today. And while I've got you, a quick request. The best way to support the Field of 68 content that you get for free is to engage with us. Rate and review the podcast. Like and share the YouTube videos. Tell your friends about us. It all helps in a world where the algorithm is king. And now, back to the show.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the big thing, Dallin Hall will take some pressure off of Demeen too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he'll have the ball in his hands plenty. It'll make it a little bit easier for Igor to acclimate himself, which I don't think he's going to have a hard time because he's played high level overseas already. And then, Catchings is going to be a little bit of an X factor here, right? Like, he's long, he can shoot it. He just, again, like, how productive is he going to be in year one? How productive is he going to be? I think Keita is going to be huge because, I mean, look at what he did coming over from Utah. Like, I think he starts at the 5 next year, averaging, 8 and 5 last year at Utah and only about 15 minutes a game. So I think you've got multiple options up front. But here's what I like about what Kevin Young did, right? He was able to retain key guys in the program. As a new head coach, you need to do that, right? You need to do that. So you bring back 4 guys, 4 of your top probably 8 or so players, and then you bring in a couple freshmen who probably they are your most talented players, your highest upside guys, and then you bring in a couple transfers that you know what they're going to give you for the most part and address a couple key needs.
Well, look, you're not wrong. I will just say that the guys that he retained were the guys that weren't ever going to be leaving BYU. If you
Wow.
if you get what I'm saying,
True.
Goodman. So
True.
like that was kind of baked in. Like I don't know if that was necessarily Kevin Young coming in and giving them the full on recruiting sales pitch, but he did go out and make some really good additions. Like I said, there's 12 guys on this roster that I think are capable of being able to contribute minutes in some kind of way. And it'll be interesting to me to see how that all kind of plays out. For me, the X factor is it's Hall, it's Dallin Hall, it's Trevin Knell, it's Richie Saunders, it's some of these guard pieces that played a certain role last season in a certain kind of way. They're going to be asked to play a different kind of a way with them in Demeen coming in. And it's like, how do they all kind of fit around him? Right? Do you want to play Demeen at the 3? Is he a 4? Is he a point guard? Is Dallin Hall going to be okay if he's playing a little bit more off the ball this year as kind of a stand in the corner, be a secondary creator kind of a piece? Like it's having all of these guys that kind of have established roles be asked to do something different with a new coach and a potential new star on the roster. And I think that that's going to be the key to whether or not they hit their ceiling.
For me, it's probably like interior defense, right? Like, what do you have? Do you have a big time rim protector? Kate is 6'8", you know, Traore's 6'6", and then you've got some freshmen that they don't have a lot of bulk on this team defensively. So, listen, Pope got away with it last year without having a lot of athleticism. They brought in, kid Elijah Crawford as a guard from Brewster Academy, who is a athletic combo guard, good shooter. Mawat Mag, we know he can guard if he's healthy. Comes from
Mhm.
Rutgers. That's what he did at Rutgers for years. He was really good at that. But I think, again, to me, the one thing you're missing probably is like a 6'10", 6'11" dude on the interior that could block shots, clean up some of the things that are going to get through. Because defensively, there's still some questions here.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that as well. I do think that they're kind of betting on Keba to be that guy, but
Yep.
he's still like 6'8" and was productive. I do. What was really interesting about them last year is, that I think you can make the argument their best player came off the bench. Jackson Robinson came off the bench, right? Um, I think you can make the argument. Well, it's not even an argument. Fusini Triori, who averaged, I think it was 12 and 9 and was the best player the last year that they were in the WCC, ended up coming off the bench and was their second leading scorer this past season. So I think that you have a team that is the core of the team and the culture there is one of sacrifice and one of, okay, we're going to put like the BYU winning is more important than my numbers and my and whether or not I start. And I do think that that is something that matters, and it'll be interesting to see if that continues with
The,
Kevin Young there.
Rob, Rob, they're not going to have trouble scoring. Like, we know that. We know
No,
they're not going to have trouble scoring because they're going to throw Dominion and ball screen all day long. And again, as long as he can make shots,
well,
I think
let's talk about that because you have a guy coming in that is a what I think is interesting about this is you have someone coming in as a first year head coach, but so much of the stuff that you have to do as a coach outside of college basketball, like he's already done really well. He knew who to go out and get in the transfer portal. They were able to get out and get 4 freshmen coming in, or 3 freshmen coming in that are all 4 stars, right? You're able to get this kid Demeen coming in. That was one of like the most highly regarded foreign players looking to play in college basketball. Yeah, let's call it what it is. You've raised as much of a salary cap as anybody in the sport at BYU as a first year head coach. Like
we got to
the
find out how much money Danny Ainge is. Danny Ainge allowed to give as a
I don't
GM
think
of
it
the
is.
Utah Jazz? I got to find out how much the Ainge family has given to this collective.
But what I think is interesting is that when you have these guys coming from the NBA, you're not worried about the on-court coaching stuff because you just kind of frankly, you assume that if you coach in the NBA, you can fucking figure out how to get it done in college, right?
Yeah.
He already did all the stuff that college coaches coming from the league struggle with. And now we're just asking him to go out there and coach ball with a team that's got pieces that you can do stuff with. Like, I, I think BYU is set up. They're going to be good this year, but I think like long term, there's a ceiling there, man. That is really, really exciting if I'm a BYU fan.
Yeah, no doubt. How can it not be? I mean, again, you've got a coach that comes from college, I mean, comes from the NBA and knows how to take advantage of that, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's a major advantage, especially when you have the right talent. So you got NIL, you got a good coach. Um, now you just got to stay away from your brother. Stay away from your brother, and you're going to be fine.
All right, give me your expectations for him this season. I'm saying get to the tournament, finish in the top half of the Big 12. All of that will be successful. I think that they have win a game upside in the big dance. And I think that sixth place, again, another year at sixth in the Big 12 is not out of the question this season.
Yeah, I would say somewhere from like 5 to 9 in the Big 12 this year wouldn't shock me. I mean, so much depends on obviously the freshmen here and how quickly they're able to acclimate themselves and how
Mhm.
good they are as teammates too, right? How good they are as teammates, because that's the one thing that really helped BYU a year ago. They played well together. Their chemistry was really good, and they snuck up on some people. They're not going to sneak up on people this year. So, top 25-ish team, anywhere from, to me, I could see him as a 5 seed all the way down to a 10 seed in the NCAA tournament. But I think they get in and they're going to be fun to watch. We know that.
All right, grade their off season.
Oh shit! I mean, I might give it a straight A at this point because they're relevant. They're relevant again nationally, and like we didn't know when Mark Pope went to Kentucky, you didn't know that thing. You were kind of scared that they could fall off the map for the next couple of years, and they didn't. I'm going to give them. I'm telling you this. I'm going to give them the first and only A+ of the offseason for me. The first and only because you were able to get a coach who was in turn able to connect to the right people, to get NIL, to be able to get the talent to be relevant. Now, we'll see if it works on the court this year, but going into the year, to me, a ton of eyes are going to be on this BYU program. I'm giving them a damn A+ on this thing. I see the way it could have gone, Rob,
Mm-hmm.
and the way it went, and I'm like, wow, like who knows now? They could take it to a different level now this year and going forward.
Yeah, so I'm going with an A-. I fluctuated between an A and an A-, but they had a chance to get Jackson Robinson back, and they didn't. I think that would have been a big one. They had a chance to get Noah Waterman back, and they didn't. I think that also would have been a big one. A 6'11" dude that can space the floor the way that he can space the floor. Ali Khalifa, another guy I think would fit really well in a kind of a Kevin Young system as a low minutes guy. But like you said, you lost Mark Pope, a guy that really, really coached up the program, brought them into the Big 12, got them top 25 in the Big 12. You replaced him with a guy that is probably better at X's and O's. I love you, Mark Pope. All due respect. Brought in a guy that might be better at X's and O's than he was. And you got the NIL flowing. All of that stuff matters. So I was between an A and an A-. I went the A- just because now Justin Young's associated with the program and he's back in college. We're going to have to hear from him over and over
Is
and
that
over
official, or
again.
are you breaking news here?
I just look because his brother is his brother is the head coach, man. Like it's
I think you just broke some news without even trying.
I would look, his brother is the head coach. So all we're gonna do is hear from Justin Young about how great BYU is. So Kevin, yeah, I'll put this next offseason. I promise I'll give you an A if you just say Justin Young gets 8 texts to Rob Dauster throughout the entire season. Love you, JY. Love BYU this season. And Goodman, we got 45 of these offseason grades episodes posted on the Field of 68 YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go and check that out.